Welcome to Gulfstream Park. It is March 26th, 2014. Christina Basanakis, and I'm joined by Mike Welch from the Daily Racing Forum. And it's here, Mike. It's Florida Derby week. We've got the Besalú Stables of Florida Derby this Saturday. Just a fantastic card. 7 graded stakes, 8 stakes, I think, in total. But Mike, today we just had the draw breakfast and for the Florida Derby. And let's get your thoughts on that.
Well, there's the field. There's 8 of them in there. We've been talking about the solid 6 we knew were going to run all week. We had 2 late additions, East Hall and All-Star, who's been running over at Called. East Hall finished 4th in the Fountain of Youth. Got in some trouble in the Tampa Derby, so they're going to try him again here. He is a late running horse in a field loaded with speed, so trainer Bill Kaplan figures he might be able to pick up a lot of pieces. And, you know, if he gets up to 3rd with him and earns 20 qualifying points with the 5 he got in the Fountain of Youth, he could wind up in the Kentucky Derby. Bill's already been there once, so he wants to go back again. But Cairo Prince, the 9-5 morning line favorite, and rightly so, off that huge effort winning the Holy Bull here. He skipped the Fountain of Youth, much to the delight of the connections of Wildcat Air. They won the Fountain of Youth, just beating out General A-Rod, so they're back at it again. This is going to be their 3rd meeting. General A-Rod beat Wildcat Red the first time in the Gulfstream Park Derby. We have Constitution, who's undefeated, 2 for 2 for trainer Todd Pletcher. He's going to be part of the early pace. And then you have Spot, who is the winner of the Swale. Kind of an unexpected winner of the Swale, but from all reports, he's doing fantastic coming out of that race, training up at Palmetto. So he might be a horse people are going to look at 8-1 or thereabouts on the morning line. And then Matador, who the connections of this horse, I think, pretty high on him. He probably didn't handle the track real well at Tampa, so they're going to give him a shot in here. And I know there are some people who are going to take a look at him. If the pace gets hot, maybe he'll be able to come from off the pace and spring an upset.
You know, Mike, I was up at Palm Meadows yesterday, and I had a chance to see all of those horses. I did see Cairo Prince go to the racetrack, and he was really full of himself. I could see him coming from a distance, and he was just bucking, and he really looks like a very, very happy horse right now. He looks lovely. I had a chance to spend some time with Kieran McLaughlin, the trainer, and they're pretty optimistic about this horse, and he really does look great. Not a very big horse, but he definitely has a lot of quality. I also had a chance to see Spot. He did go to the track as well. And you mentioned Constitution, Matador. I stopped by to see both of those two. And just lovely quality that they have. And I did speak to Norm Cassie, and they do seem to be pretty high on him. And they're ready to willing to throw out that last race at Tampa.
Yeah, we'll talk more about this race on Saturday on the show. But, you know, the one issue with Cairo Prince is he hasn't run now in 8 or 9 weeks. They're obviously put him on a schedule to get him to peak for the Kentucky Derby, although they sure would love to win the big share of the $1 million purse here. He still needs some more points to get into the Kentucky Derby, so I know Kieran thinks that he's 100% ready to go and going to be on top of his game. I know I talked to trainer Jose Garofalo, and he thinks maybe with that 8 or 9 weeks off might make him a little bit vulnerable, and he said, I think General A-Rod's the one to beat. So a lot of difference of opinion in here, and I haven't decided who I'm going to pick yet. We'll wait and see now that we got the post-position draw. Probably a good draw for General A-Rod. With Constitution between him and Wildcat Red, it may give him a little buffer this time. Instead of having to go right after Wildcat Red like he did in the Fountain of Youth, he might be able to sit back and let Constitution do the dirty work for him. So we'll see how things play out. On paper, it's easy to kind of figure how things might go, and then they open the gates and it never, usually doesn't go exactly like you expected.
Wildcat Red's connections, they seem to be pretty excited with their one post position. They were really cheering when they got that post position. Also for Kieran McLaughlin, a little bit later today, you can go on our website on Gulfstream Park, and you can take a look. I did speak to Kieran McLaughlin, and I did ask him about the time off in between races, the spacing between races, and all those other, relevant questions, I thought. So you can go on the website and check those out, and hopefully gets a little bit of the skinny on this Saturday's Besalú Florida Derby.
One notable horse that's right here on the grounds that was not in there, and we didn't expect him, is Social Inclusion. He's going to pass this race and go to the Wood for his final, hopefully, Derby prep. He's not in yet either. He's going to have to finish 3rd or better in the Wood, at least 3rd or better to qualify for the Derby. But he worked here this morning. Looked great. He went 3/8 of a mile and 35 and 2 over kind of a cuppy racetrack. He did have a pretty good wind behind him, but he was well in hand, galloped out nicely. This horse looks like he's bounced out of that record record-setting performance against Honor Code in good shape, and he looks like he's going to go into the wood on top of his game. It's just a matter of if he can repeat his last effort coming back, if he gets tested early, hooked early in a bigger field, and against a quality horse. Not that Honor Code wasn't a quality horse, but he didn't really affect him that day. It was a one-horse race when Social Inclusion ran last time, but it will not be a one-horse race when he gets in and leaves the gate for the wood. But he's doing great. He's going to work here Saturday, ship to New York on Sunday.
So before we get and we can take a look at today's card, there is a carryover in the 20-cent Rainbow Six. We're up to just over $3.9 million, and that starts in race 5 this afternoon. And Mike will take a quick look back. Grade 2 inside information last weekend. Marty Wolfson, very well armed. He had 3 in there, and the one that stole the show was Heartstealer.
Yeah, and I picked Marty to run 1, 2, 3, and he ran 1, 2.
You did have Heartstealer on top.
I did have Heartstealer on top. Yeah, the 3 was Centrique, who didn't break real well, and she's on the outside there and kind of flattened out late. But here comes Heartstealer. Perfect trip under Joel Rosario. Probably the same kind of trip that Mike Maker is hoping to get for General A-Rod. Sat off the speed, rallied, drew off, and then held safe his stablemate, or her stablemate here. So Heartstealer, the winner. And Marty said all along he thought this was the best of his sprinting fillies. So the division is very wide open this year, the filly and mare sprint division, with Groupie Doll gone. So I think Heartstealer could very well be part of that mix by year's end, and Marty would love to get her and maybe 1 or 2 others of his into the Breeders' Cup filly and mare sprint at the end of the year.
Yeah, Groupie Doll was retired, 2-time champion sprint mare. But Mike, let's get into today's card. We do have a lot of ground to cover.
We have a lot of fillies and mares today too. Just a lot of races for the girls today.
Speaking of which, we are well represented. Not only on the racetrack, we're also represented here at Gulfstream Park with Miss Racing Queen. That's going to be coming into the final stages here and into the last few days and this weekend. But we can start with the first race on the card, and it is a 12-5 maiden claiming event, 6 furlongs on the main track. Scratch number 1, and there's a jockey change. Number 5 is going to be ridden by Joel Rosario. And my top selection, I went with number 5, and this is Hot Cotton, and coming into this off a second place effort. I'm thinking he's going to be showing some speed here today, Mike, but you went with a horse that I also used in the second place spot, I Wish I Wish.
Yeah, I like I Wish I Wish in the drop down. Look, Hot Cotton's a logical horse off that last race, but the horse that beat her that day came into the race with 2 starts under their belt. The buyers that she'd run going into that race was 0 and 10, and she beat Hot Cotton even though Hot Cotton got loose on the lead. I Wish I Wish, I think's a little better than that. Her first race, she caught slop. She finished 3rd in a field of 9. She did show some speed. I don't know how well she handled the slop or didn't handle the slop, but she's going to get a fast track today. Bit of a cuppy track this morning with all the wind. We'll see how it plays this afternoon. But I'm just thinking I Wish I Wish, with 1 race under her belt, might be able to chase Hot Cotton and wear her down and spring what would be a mild upset in the first race.
On to the second, which is a starter optional claiming event, a claiming price of $25,000. 6 furlongs on the main track. Kicks off the early pick 4 of the afternoon. 2 scratches, number 2 and number 4. And Mike, it seems like we went both with the same horse, number 7, CNO. And here's another one going to be showing speed. The horse that beat CNO last time, Take Time to Party, came back and won here just the other day.
Yeah, and won big in a 50 starter race, got an 84 buyer. That's why I like CNO. With right on course out, could even leave CNO loose on the lead, although Little Tom Outsider will probably be a pace factor throughout. This horse has improved since getting blinkers. But if CNO can just repeat her last race, she's definitely the one to beat. French Quarter is also coming off her career best effort, or his career best effort. So he's also in the mix if he can repeat that on about 3 weeks rest. So I think this is the bottom 3 will slug it out here, but I'm going to go with CNO like you did.
Mike, you did mention French Quarter. We can have a look at that latest race, and to be honest, I was torn between number 6 French Quarter and number 7 CNO. I did go with CNO. However, that victory last time by French Quarter, pretty impressive, and pretty good figure that day as well.
Yeah, he did get a good figure that day, but the horse that he chased and ran away from was a horse that was in here today, right on course, and I think he was an easier target for him than these horses on the out, than CNO and maybe even Little Tom will be. So he may not get by the leader as readily as he did in the last time, and if he doesn't get by as readily, he may not run that figure again. But he certainly has to be respected coming off a big effort like that.
On to the third race of the afternoon, and is a 16,000 claiming event, a mile on the 16th on the turf course. We have a jockey change. Number 2, Barbaro's Revenge, will be ridden by Joel Rosario. And my top selection, it seems like we went in the same direction again here, Mike. And number 6, Grown Men Cry, and coming into this off of a 4th place effort last time at a similar level, but making his first start, or I should say returning to the Barry Croft barn.
Yeah, I think it's kind of significant that Barry reached in and took him back. His effort when he won 2 starts back, I remember it was on a Saturday. I picked him that day. He was like 5 or 6 to 1 in the program. I thought he'd be a price. Got bet to 9 to 5, had a horrible trip, and still came on and won. Now he stepped up to the never, and he got claimed. Stepped up to the never won 3 level, finished 4th, but actually his rag figure and I think his buyer figure was higher that day than it was when he broke his maiden. So this is a horse that's doing well right now. Barry took him back. The big thing with him is will he get enough pace to run at in here? You know, Bernie the Jet is probably going to be loose on the lead in here. This horse ran well when sent last time. Chased the pace all the way. Was no match for Barzini, who came into the race off some pretty decent speed numbers. So, you know, Bernie the Jet gets loose in here. He may stand some catching. I was really torn between which one of these to go with, and I went with Grown Men Cry. But I think you got to use both if you're playing the early pick 4.
Looking ahead to the 4th race on the card, and it is a starter optional claiming race, a claiming price of $25,000. It is 1 mile on the main track and a scratch. Number 1, Storm Warnings, and I went with number 5, Good Time Had by All, and this is from the George Navarro barn, just beaten the neck last time by Bernie the Maestro, and we can have a look at that latest effort, Mike. It seems like he's going to be pretty tough to beat here.
Yeah, I mean, Bernie the Maestro's one heck of a racehorse.
Yeah.
I mean, he's an old veteran, but he still is good now almost as he was earlier in his career. He was a stakes winner last year in Indiana. And you see Good Time Had by All has got to swing really wide here. Bernie the Maestro's right inside of him. He got the jump. He lost a little less ground. And Bernie the Maestro's going to outfinish Good Time Had by All, who's looking to lug in a little bit also. So I'm going to give him a mulligan off this effort. He also changed leads here, too. He's back on his left lead, back on his right lead. So, you know, maybe you can make an excuse for him as well, and he just does get beat. There's no Bernie the Maestros in here. Right. Good Time Had by All came back and worked a bullet on March 15th at Calder. So, you know, I think everything being equal, if he could run a little less green as he did and stay on his right lead coming down the stretch, I think Bernie, Good Time Had by All, should get the job done. He'll have to catch Political Justice. He dueled the favorite in his last race in a defeat, but then that paid the price himself. He looks like he could get loose in here, and if speed's holding on today's track, he might give the Good Time Had by All a run for his money, but I think in the end Good Time Had by All will assert his class going a mile and get up in time.
I hope so as well. On to the 5th race, and it is a 16,000 maiden claiming race at a mile and a 16th on the turf course. There is a jockey change. Number 5, Gavel Down, will be ridden by Edgard Zayas. And my top select, this race now kicks off the Rainbow Six, and we do have that carryover. It's just under $4 million. And so my top selection, I went with number 2, Edge of Midnight from the Bill Mott barn, and didn't have the greatest of starts. Was ducked in a little bit at the start of the latest one, but I felt that improvement. That colt improved last time on the turf, and I'm hoping he's going to move forward from that.
Yeah, he's dropping down, and this is a pretty bad group here, so I considered him as well. I think I got him 3rd on there. I took a shot with Graffitis. This horse is coming off probably his best race yet. He is the speed in here. I'm hoping he won't get in any kind of a duel with Take My Time. That would be my major worry. But the horse has improved enough. If he can repeat his last race and get loose on the lead, I think Graffitis might be able to go all the way in here. Winworthy, You go back 2 starts, he ran a race that's good enough to beat these if the speed does tie up. And then you got the class-dropping Edge of Midnight. One of these 3 probably will win it. I wouldn't go out on the limb and say any of them are certain by any chance, by any means. So if you're starting off the Rainbow Six in here, I think you got to go at least 3 deep.
Yeah, I agree with you. And on to the 6th race on the card, and that kicks off the day's Pick 5, and it is a $25,000 allowance optional claiming test, 5 furlongs on the turf course, and there is 1 scratch, number 2. And I went with number 4, Runway Ready, a 4-year-old filly by Mr. Greeley. She's going to be showing speed. I'm imagining, Mike, that she'll be up there early. I just think she's faster than these horses.
You're right. She is faster than these horses. The problem is there are so many speed horses in here.
Right.
If 1 or 2 of them either break really well or this horse doesn't break real sharp, it'll change the whole complexion of the race. I don't think this horse is going to win if he, breaks a step slow and finds himself 3rd or 4th in behind horses. So he's going to have to get out of the gate. But his last race, he dueled at an extremely fast pace in the stake, hung 3 wide all the way. The race before, the figure that he got for winning that effort was makes him much faster than these. As long as he gets out and gets his head in front, I think he'll stand some catching. Magic Mesa, never really runs a bad one in this kind of a category. And Shenton Park back with Jorge Navarro, so I got to respect that trainer switch. He's had him before, he's got him again. So again, this is a race. Some may want a single Runaway Ready in the Rainbow Six in here. Others may feel that, again, because of all the speed, because of their volatile nature, these 5 furlong races, they may want to take a little bit of a spread.
I know that's a tough one because there is a lot of speed in that race. On to the 7th race on the day's card, and it kicks off the late Pick 4. It is a 12.5 maiden claiming event, a mile on the main track. We do have a scratch. Number 7 has been scratched, and number 6 will be ridden by Michael Ritvo, and who had his first winner just the other day. And that was
Sunday. Dylan Davis is actually not only out for all his mounts today, but I think he's done here for the meet. He suffered a bruise in that spill on Sunday in the 2nd race that at first didn't seem as bad as it turned out to be, and he's just going to take off the rest of the next week or so and get ready for when Keeneland opens next week.
So in this race, Mike, it looks like we went in different directions, although we used the same horses essentially. And I went with number 3, Flat in Charge, who broke from the rail last time, and I thought was a pretty good 2nd place effort. And then you went with number 2, Cement. I'm guessing Clement.
Or Clement.
Cement Clement. Well, that doesn't sound as good. But definitely who making his first start for Ricky Griffith.
Yeah, I just thought this race, looked like a first-time starter could just step into this category if he's got any ability and maybe steal it. Cement Clement has shown speed in the morning. I wish the race was shorter than a mile. A mile's a tough distance, especially coming out of that chute for first-time starters. But there's not a lot of competition in here. Ricky Griffith is pretty good with first-time starters. If you look at his stats, the horse is getting LASIK. So just hope he can break, get to the lead, and maybe hold off. Flat on Charge is obviously the one to beat. Dropped down last time into the category, ran the best race of his career, 2nd time blinkers. So he's certainly, I think one of these 2, if I'm taking my Rainbow Six ticket, would be one of these 2 on that ticket only in this race.
Looking on to the 8th on the card, and it is an allowance optional claiming test with a claiming price of $100,000. It is a mile on the turf course. We get blinkers off, and number 1, Street Gem, who was among my top selections. Mike, I went with a horse that I've actually done well with before, had some success with number 7. She's Spooky, 2 starts back. I was on her bandwagon when she won that day at 7-1. I actually didn't pick her last time. She was stepping up to Stakes Company. And I think even though there are a couple of horses that are probably going to be showing speed in here, including possibly number 1, Street Gem, I like She's Spooky. I think she's a fast filly.
I think she'll be on the lead, and she has the advantage over several of these that she's been running. That's the key to this race. You got 3 of the key contenders have not run in a while, so you just don't know how they're going to perform first time back. I went for Orion Moon. She's one of those 3, but she comes from the Clement stable. He usually has them ready to go first time. That race she won at Saratoga last summer, she beat a pretty good field. One of the also-rans in that race This was Viva Raffaella, and she's turned into a stakes caliber filly. So I'm just hoping that Christophe Clement, or Clement, however you want to pronounce it, has her ready off of the bench. And I took a shot with her. Street Gem, my second choice. She's spooky third.
On to the 9th, and it is a starter optional claiming test. The claiming price, $75,000. Mile 16th on the turf course. And my top pick, I went with number 6, Raging Atlantic. Javier Castellano gets aboard for trainer Mike Maker. And we can have a look at 2 starts prior at this level, Mike. She was pretty good. She was just beaten a neck that day. Now, she came back last time, and she was 9th. She showed some speed in her latest start. She was 9 furlongs. And that was 9 furlongs. We're cutting back today. We're reverting to mile 16, cutting back in trip a little bit.
This horse got claimed off for Todd Pletcher and ran a couple of good races right off the bat. And then, like you say, last time faulted a little bit. And this horse worked the other day on the main track now, but I didn't like the way this horse looked at all. So I'm trying to beat.
I'm unhappy with that piece of information.
I'm trying to beat Raging Atlantic. I took One Penny Piece. One Penny Piece comes off a nice win, first start in this country. Overcame some trouble, one going away, galloped out really strong, and seems to have come back and worked well up at Palmettos, according to Mike Vesci. So I'm taking One Penny Piece. Patsy's Holiday, to me, is definitely the one to beat. This horse has gotten better since joining Todd Pletcher's barn. Comes off a couple of good races, and I think, like I said, it's going to be One Penny Piece or Patsy's Holiday. I'm going to take a stand against Raging Atlantic.
On to the 10th and final race on today's card, and it is a 16,000 claiming event, 7.5 furlongs on the turf course. 3 scratches, number 5, 10, 11, and a jockey change on number 4, Luis Saez. And my top selection, I went with number 4, Monero, who's going to be showing speed in here, Mike, but you went with number 1, Elusive Design.
I thought Miss Tally Cat might disrupt Monero enough on the lead that Elusive Design comes off, paired up career best figures on the rag sheets, and I think if he moves forward again, gets a trip along the rail, she can prove the upset, or pull the upset is the word I'm looking for over Monero. They're rushing us. They're waving at us to get off, so I'm trying to rush.
They just want to say hi.
Okay. Elusive Design and Monero are my top 2 picks.
And that's it for today's card. We do have a Rainbow 6. There's a carryover at $3.9 million, just under $4 million, folks, and that starts in race 5. We had the draw breakfast for the Florida Derby, the Best of the Florida Derby this morning, and we have a poker tournament here tonight, and that's the proceeds for that. It's a good cause.
Okay, we got to go. Larry Comas wants to get on this set. Good luck, everybody.
Folks, Ron Nicoletti and I will be back in just a little bit. Come back and join us.